We're all misfits.
All right, you ragtag bunch of misfits.
You're a scrappy little misfit, just like me.
Biggest bunch of misfits I ever set eyes on.
Yeah, we're rolling.
Chill.
Good morning, Misfits. You are tuning into another episode of the Misfit Podcast. Full Goon Squad in the house.
Sup?
Yo.
On today's episode, we are going to be recapping the Masters age group. I'm not sure what you call it. Age group semifinal.
Pretty close, I think.
And then we're going to do a deep dive into the history of Larry Matthew Sherburn. But before we do that, we have live chat and we have our show sponsors. sharpentheaxeco.com. Use your favorite athlete code. You save 10%. They get 10% towards their journey to the CrossFit Games, semifinals, Masters CrossFit Games, quarter quell, all the good stuff.
Well,
What is that?
Volunteers Tribute.
Gymnastics?
Hunger Games, yeah.
Yeah. Properfuel.co. Use the code word Misfit. MisfitAthletics.com for your individual programming needs, and TeamMisfit.com for your affiliate programming needs. I think we should start with a little bit of a segue from that Team Misfit affiliate ad and the Masters semifinals. Hunter, you got a little bit of a story for us here.
yeah,
Tell us a story.
we're referring to the email, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll read
something else off the cuff.
Well, he said you got a little story. I don't have a story. I'm just going to read the email that I received. He did email it. Jesse did email you, Drew. He just emailed Drew at misfitathletics.com.
Get you every
Idiot,
time.
not knowing
Coach,
just kidding, Jesse.
If you want to email me.
Yeah, so I mean, I got this email yesterday at 11 p.m. So shout out Jesse Williams, a coach over at
Switchback CrossFit.
Switchback
Montana.
CrossFit
He's the
in
owner of that
Montana. Say that again, Ted.
He's the owner of that gym.
Yeah, sweet. So they've been doing Team Misfit affiliate programming for a while, and he fired us this email. Hey Goons, I'm still in a bit of disbelief and obviously still pending review, but I'm currently sitting in 35th after the 45 to 49 semifinals. My first time ever qualifying for the CrossFit Games, and all one and dones this weekend.
Nice.
Wanted to reach out to share that I've been exclusively doing affiliate programming since October before the 23 Open. Took last summer off completely from working out to remodel and open my own gym, Switchback CrossFit. Opened the gym and got back onto the program in October. It has meant a lot to me to, quote, do the class work and train with my members, especially with my new gym, to be a role model and show that the programming works. That said, I don't want to compete at the CrossFit Games and finish at the bottom. I have some weaknesses, and then he kind of goes into just a couple more specific questions as to how he should proceed. And then at the end here, P.S., this is referring to Drew did a little Masters kind of how to attack the weekend before on Wednesday once the workouts got released. P.S. Workout 4 today got me inside the bubble. I knew I had to go unbroken on the thrusters and remembered Drew's semi-prep stream. Quote, and you damn well better finish the thrusters in a shit ton of pain. Mission accomplished. So congratulations,
Hell
Jesse.
Yeah, congratulations,
45
Jesse.
to 49 master doing Team Misfit affiliate programming.
Pretty great.
That's pretty fucking cool.
Congrats.
And our own Larry Sherburn finished very high in the finished on the leaderboard.
He's on the leaderboard.
Yes, you can still type in his name and
Finished.
see it.
No, I mean that is just the CrossFit Games athletes who are between the age of 35 and like individual CrossFit
That
Games
division
athletes
is
that happen to
fucking
be
insane.
35 to 39. It's essentially the individual division, and Sherb also essentially only did Team Misfit affiliate, save the couple odd
Saturday mornings.
Saturday mornings.
A little more happens, but not much.
I mean,
yeah, so congrats to
triplets and
Jesse. Congrats.
triplets and weightlifting and gymnastics and all that good stuff.
L sits. Don't skip your L sits.
And L sits. Don't skip your L sits.
Some
yeah,
intensity
it's
maybe.
Cool to, it's cool to see this because we see it so often here. at Misfit Gym Portland and Misfit Gym Wyndham. And as we say all the time with the individual programming, the programming itself is just words on the page without the execution. And it's awesome to know that in, Portland, Maine, Wyndham, Maine, all the way out to Kalispell, Montana, there's a good product being delivered and a good culture being delivered. I think there's a piece to both sides of that, right? We need to be able to coach it well enough for this sort of thing to happen, but also each gym, specifically you two and some other people, each gym that we have here sets the tone through setting an example. A lot of coaches exercising, a lot of coaches exercising at a high level, a lot of coaches practicing what they preach. There's a huge difference in, like, you can stand up there and deliver this type of class, and then if you act completely different outside of those hours, it's not really going to resonate. So I think that's something that we want to continue to champion and talk about on this podcast, because that's how you really develop a community and a culture where you change hundreds of lives. And I mentioned it a little bit in a little rant on Instagram about why you should buy the athletes t-shirts. And it's the same concept here. People who are setting the standard for other people are so incredibly important. We don't need every single person in the gym to be the tip of the spear, but we need the tip of the spear for people to sort of look up at and say, this is possible if this is what I want to achieve, because you guys and Jesse and a bunch of other people just, again, show that. And other people can probably find out that, yeah, it's possible for me too, if I want to put in that level of effort.
And we had two of our own homegrown masters finish the weekend too. Paul in the 60 to 64, he finished 57th.
Damn,
and
so close.
Andy Bowden in the 65 plus finished 144th, and two home, Misfit Gym Portland does affiliate programming, maybe the odd skill, things trying, I know Paul's been working on things like muscle ups and double unders and whatnot in spare time, but for the, 99% of the time, it's just the programming, and really cool to see our masters doing really well.
And on our masters program, Kenzie Riley, Kelly, Mike Kern, Justin LaSala, all in very comfortable qualifying positions at the moment. Good. Nothing is finalized. We have no video review. We'll see if they decide that everyone needed to jump an inch off the floor, maybe like in the front squats or something like that, to really show that extension.
Justin's
trying to guess what that was going to be
right now.
Yep, Justin's sitting in second. Yep,
that's all right, I guess.
Sure. What do we think? What was the experience like going through these workouts?
I mean, didn't really expect to qualify for semifinals, so it was kind of nice. And it was like, all right, there's like less pressure because you didn't expect to get there. And then as soon as you start competing, you're like, fuck, why do I suck? And suck is relative just to the field. So I was
good in that one workout.
Yeah, I did all right in one workout. Like, I saw the workouts, and I basically performed exactly how I anticipated if I was going to rank order best to worst, exactly how I thought I was going to go when I did the workouts, excuse me. But, I just think it puts a magnifying glass on where my fitness is, and if I want it to improve, what needs to be addressed, which is always kind of nice. And that's really, while we talk about the open being so special for the average affiliate member, it kind of gives you perspective on where your fitness is and where it could be. So like for me, having gone through the weekend, like the pressure was low, even though I don't like turn that camera on and doing all the filming and stuff. So like when Drew came to the gym yesterday and he's like, do you want to do this stuff? Like I do all the filming stuff at the end. I just say my name, what the event is, and we start the clock because I don't want to think anymore about what's about to happen, do the workout, and then deal with that stuff after. So I was happy with my performance for the most part. I was really discouraged when I did event 3 the first time because I had done event 2 the night before, the chest to bar workout with the box jumps, the double unders, and the handstand push-ups, and my biceps were fried. So I got to do the muscle up workout Saturday morning, and I was just absolutely like fried from that, all that pulling gymnastics. And I went really, really slow the first time, basically because I couldn't keep moving. It's like a weird thing when your heart rate's not the reason you can't keep going, and it's like your head is in it, but your body just doesn't want to cooperate. So I was happy to do the retest yesterday. So I ended up doing the final in the morning and the retest in the afternoon, and they, both went pretty well, but people are very fit. very, very fit. So kind of where I'm at. Not upset about it, but it gives you that feeling directly after, like, fuck, if I had only done these few things, or I'd worked on this past year, it's top 75 instead of, top 120, which again,
or you can think about it as I finished in a really, really good spot doing like minimum necessary dose, and it's like, how much little could you do in this coming year and move up, into the top 75, into the top 50, maybe in contention,
Yeah, I mean, Drew and I discussed that this morning. You look at the pulling gymnastics. I mean, I like chest to bar pull-ups. I like strict handstand push-ups, but then they put them bang, bang in one, a long workout, and two, with two other jumping movements, which aren't my strengths. So, like, kind of took away my slight advantage on the movements that I'm good at. But, like, that's what fitness is. You can't just be like, it's a chest to bar workout. They're all fitness workouts. You have to realize that certain time domains need to be addressed, certain strategies to workouts need to be addressed, and then in line with that, like, our movements where they could be, or could they be better? And with our Team Misfit programming, we kind of check all the boxes across the entire year. We get generally fitter at everything, which is something I can obviously display with being able to qualify for said event. But if I want to move the needle further, those things just need to be addressed if I hope to do better next year, because I was happy with how quarterfinals went. It was a surprise to make it. And then my mind goes instantly like, all right, here's the new challenge, and I want to do well at this challenge too. But, each level of competition requires a leveling up of the attention to detail and the things that you need to do to make it there. So, like, if you want to perform at a certain level, you have to have a lifestyle that is in alignment with that. And, like, my lifestyle of the last 12 months was enough to push me into semifinals. But if I want to push beyond that, or to move up the leaderboard, I just need to address, specific things.
I mean, I think it's also a good, like, again, you kind of, it's almost like you're framing it in the way of like, yeah, well, this is how it was, and like, if I want to get better, then I have to do X, Y, and Z, as opposed to like, wow, like, given the little, relatively small amount of training time I had every day, like, you pretty damn well optimized, as close to all of it as you possibly could have. Like, maybe, if you had more time to do, we talk about it all the time, like, maybe you do find time to do an extra training piece every day, and then it's like, well, that also means you need to find time to recover from it, to do the additional mobility and feed yourself and all that sort of things. And when you have a wife and one, poor Noelle, who's still recovering from an injury, and you got to kind of pull double duty with 2 kids, it's like, is that give and take even feasible for you? And instead it's like, damn, Sherb fucking optimized the training and recovery like nearly perfectly for the season, and the only thing you can do is decide, whether or not you have the time and ability to actually do more training and the other things that come along with it. So
yeah, I mean,
I think it's just a nod to doing things pretty damn well over the last year.
I'm mostly at peace with like that type of stuff. Like, it obviously is irritating not to want to do better, and I think that, like, that's just who I am as a person. Like, if I'm going to do something, I want to try to do well at it, whatever that is. But overall, like, I'm very happy with the fact that I was able to go in, qualify for this event, not having expected to do it at all based on like last year's performance, and then have relatively good runs, and then be able to go and retest, which hasn't always been a strength of mine in the past. I usually give my best effort on event 1, or the first go of whatever event it is, and then, if maybe you sneak out one more rep, or you get like 1 second faster, but had over a minute improvement on the retest. So, like, there are things that I'm very happy about, and I had goals going into certain workouts in both quarters and semifinals, and I hit just about all of them. So, like, for me, it's a successful season. But you're right, I don't have the luxury of training for 4 hours in the day if I want to do the other things in my life that are important to me. So, pretty happy with the balance that I had between performing well in training, demonstrating my fitness, and then, having it be a low stress community event, because I had a really good community here that came and supported and like watched the workouts. And I'm like, you really sure you want to watch a 20-minute AMRAP of me doing box jumps, double unders, and pull-ups? Like, thank you. It's really nice that you want to come do that. But like, I would understand if you get bored 4 minutes in and you're like, all right, everyone got a beer? Like, can I do something else? I would get it.
Yeah, I think my mind goes to 2 places. One, have to echo what Hunter's saying, top 60% in the world in something that you're doing. And you have to remember that you were like, oh, can I even qualify for semifinals? And then you're in semifinals and you do finish inside of that top 60% of those people. But because there's a scoreboard and you're a fucking meathead like the rest of us, it's tough to look at that and see that number. But backing out into the 30,000 foot view, the context, it's like, that's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, no, I'm really happy with it too, because like the things that I've been trying to go back and adopt are just like basic level 1 stuff from back in the day. Like I train 3 days on, 1 day off, just about every single week. And if I get outside that pattern, that 4th day is usually something very, very easy, like go outside and hike or do yard work or something like that. Yeah. Or like absolute most a math session. And then, you know, paying attention to the things that need attention. Like I'm trying to go hard in workouts, and I use the leaderboard day in, day out at the gym to kind of see what's possible, and then just, you know, turn the mind off and try to go as hard as I can in those pieces. And the variance and all the training that we do has prepared me for everything. And it just kind of gives me a good feeling, both from the programmer side and the athlete side, that like we're on the right path. People are getting fitter just doing the hour class plus maybe a tiny bit extra of like skill work or mobility each day, and what that means for fitness. Again, it's just kind of a nod to the original charter of like, you know, intensity, not volume.
The other thing to consider, and this is more for everyone listening, when you're doing that audit of how the final sort of rung on the ladder for your season went, I think deciding what you're going to bias in an entire off season and understanding the idea of movement cost is incredibly important. So like Sherb and I talked about the pulling gymnastics being something that he would need to sort of overcompensate for as at his size, especially with how often they're programmed. It's not just that he needs to like them and be good at them. He actually has to take that a step further. So if you're a bigger athlete and you struggle with a particular movement, you have to really dig into it and in a vacuum make it seem like you're even better than people that are smaller than you at that particular movement because of the cost of it inside of a competitive situation. Like you moving through space in a muscle up, in a chest to bar pull up, it's just not going to have the same metabolic demand as a lot of CrossFit sized people. And the same could go in the opposite direction when you're thinking about a smaller athlete and how often they would need to row or do wall balls or lift heavy barbells, that sort of thing. You need to become a technician in the things that hold you back, because again, it's just going to take so much more effort in basically any and all scenarios for someone who's smaller to move weight or to, again, generate power, and then someone who's larger to be able to do more of the body weight type movements. And there are obviously caveats to that, and there's some gray areas, but that's the kind of thing where you could follow an affiliate program and just mix in the pulling gymnastics EMOMs, but like all year, like a couple of them a week for the entire year, just so you can see that sort of linear progression. So when you're thinking about, you know, we have the variable programming system and you're making choices throughout the year, think about the idea of movement cost and what it takes for someone at your size to complete something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with what you're saying. It's something that wasn't as focused, and you know, just gives you a chance to realize that.
And it didn't need to be, right? Like
No,
you
I
just
mean-
like one of the things with what we're doing here is providing some sort of context for other people.
Yeah,
so that's still a decision for you to make. And again, we joke about this, you know, after you watch Mighty Ducks, you got to go hit your friends with hockey sticks in the driveway. Like in October, do you still look at it and say, fuck, I got to do more chest bar pull-ups and more rope climbs and all of this stuff? Or is it like, fuck, I've finished inside of the top 60% and I'm just going to keep doing my thing? So like,
yeah, I mean, I think right now the you lean towards the Mighty Ducks thing versus just like what life's actually going to be. But having done this, I don't know, what is this, 2024? So like 11 years of like
Where
this
am
type of season. I don't know what day it is. You know, you sort of realize what your life can afford you for time, and you have to make that sacrifice. And like at this point right now, like I really like the balance. I have plenty going on professionally. My family, like, time is spent real well. I'm not worried about on the weekends, fuck, I didn't do that thruster EMOM. Like that part of my life has sort of gone past, but that doesn't mean there can't be spurts leading up to a season where you try to dial things in a little ahead of time. You just have to realize that like that might not get to your goal, whereas a full season of that might. So, it's just everything's a plus and minus, and realizing, like Hunter said early on, like it's not just did you do this extra piece, did you fuel for it, did you recover from it, did you take the time to warm up for it? Like these things are just costs you have to have, and keeping a realistic head on your shoulders to have the consistency for the entire year is probably the most difficult thing, because the initial like rush of like, holy fuck, I can get better and make this, this missed goal be a thing next year is like, I don't know, fucking gasoline on a fire. But if it doesn't burn continually for a long time, like it doesn't matter if you do 48 EMOMs in the first week after the competition season and you don't do another one until the season.
Truth.
It won't lead you to what you need to,
You just called out
doing.
10,000 people by accident.
Well, I mean, I'm guilty of this as well, and we've watched athletes miss, qualification by a movement or a weight or a skill or capacity, and
Sometimes the
something
same
GHD.
movement in multiple years, back-to-back years.
Yeah,
Like,
and that can just be enough that, like, they were super fired up for the 2 weeks after it, and they did that movement over and over and over again, but then, I start to lose attention to it, and there's grass is greener, and there's this beach to go to, and there's whatever else going on in life, and just if it's not continually tinkered at, it's not consistent enough to make the change that you need to make, and then unfortunately you end up in the same place the following year.
True. All right, Sherb, are you ready for your origin story interview? Yeah, get that coffee down the hatch. Let's
Yeah,
go.
this
Let's
is
get
like,
the
I don't know,
fucking
coffee, like
synapses
11.
going.
I'm ready to rock.
Okay. Do you remember the very first strength and conditioning program that you did where you like saw real results? Like you really saw, like, I put this work in and then I got this out of it.
Bigger, faster, stronger going into 9th grade football. We did that. We had a guy come from fucking Iowa, and he presented this talk, Eat Like a Tiger, which was like basically eat meat. Was the, like,
Kill your
was
friends.
The, was essentially the entire like
Drag
point
them
of
up into a tree.
entire point of his thing there, and it was bigger, faster, stronger. It was prior to like Beat the Computer, which I know a lot of people who are about my age and played football at the same time I did probably had their football coach give them, because it's basically just a computer program that said you did 50 this week, do 51 next week, and then do 52 the following week, and then 53 the following week after that. So
It was hypertrophy for a power output sport. Made sense for sure. Keep going.
we were
sorry.
yoked. But yeah, no, the movement I specifically remember most on is just the power clean. That was like the only Olympic lift that we were taught in high school, and nobody could do more than like 150 pounds. And I remember at first time I did it, I did like fucking 115 pounds, and I was like, yeah, I got fucking 35s, and she said, that's dope.
Now, is
And
this
then-
with straps at the hang or a full
No,
power?
this is a full ugly ass starfish power clean from high school. I actually didn't start doing hang cleans
Is
until
that how you developed
college.
that?
Yeah.
Like starfish? That's how you learned it?
Drew, you remember? Do you remember Mr. Bowden? I already know the answer to this, but yeah, you do.
Sure fucking do.
He tried to
Fucking
teach me.
two
He tried to
plates.
teach me how to do a hang power clean at the Scarborough High School gym, and I was like with 95 pounds, and I couldn't do it. And I was like, "The fuck muscle does this even work? Like, get this out of here."
It's stupid. Yeah, so I'd say
we had
the
go
power
ahead, Trey.
clean. Oh, so I'd say the power clean was probably that first movement where we were taught something, and like I started to get a little better at it, and I started to be better than other people at it. And again, relatively
Yep.
small pool at the Wyndham High School like football team, but that was the first time where like, oh, like I could be good at something if I kind of work at it. And I always really liked the weight room, because it was just like loud music and like throwing weight around and like flexing like 6-inch biceps. It was pretty dope. Like I really thought that was like a really fun part of just like getting together with other people and like getting ready to play our sport, which, I really like doing, but I honestly found later on in life I like the training more.
And what about the conditioning side? Do you remember
Oh yeah.
the first time that something that you did, some type of progression or like weekly thing, actually got you in shape?
Yeah, I was a fat sack of shit when it came to like conditioning. I was someone who couldn't do anything for more than like 5 minutes at once. I remember playing like football specifically, just always being fucking gassed, super gassed. So the same coach that put us on to Bigger, Faster, Stronger found, I want to say, Nebraska college football team's sprint program, and it was a four block progression where you did something for 4 weeks, then 4 more weeks, then 4 more weeks, and each like week it was just sprint this duration, rest this long, sprint this duration, rest this long. So I would jog or bike from my parents' house down to the East Windham Fire Station, which is like it's probably like a mile and a half away. And I brought a can of spray paint and a wheel, and I spray painted on their parking lot the distances to run.
Of course you did.
Yeah, right in their fucking parking lot. And no one was there. It's a volunteer fire department, so like there's fucking no one. I never see anyone there.
Better put some graffiti on this bitch.
So I'd run, you run
You don't
10 meters, you rest 30 seconds, you run 40 meters, you rest a minute. It was just a series of, I don't know, probably 15 to 30 sprints. And then, I'd like walk home and keep doing it. And I noticed that my conditioning, like that was the one thing I always thought I had going into the football season. I was like more conditioned than more other people. Like we spent the first fucking month of football practice.
What position did you play?
Tight end and defensive end. Basically the same position on either side of the line, whether you're playing offense or defense.
Me too.
Got it.
So
So-
that was the first time I noticed that like doing something could improve my fitness.
Now, coaching side, where did that start for you? Like what I do remember some like odds and ends as part of your 600 job adolescence. But what was the first coaching job that you had where you felt like it wasn't necessarily a job, like you were making connections with people, like you could actually help them accomplish some of the stuff that you had learned how to accomplish on your own?
Part of what we had to do every summer, in addition to like getting like access to the weight room and like working out, was we had to run these like summer football and basketball camps. Like we would run one day and one the other day. So they'd put all the high school football players that were wanting to have access to those facilities in the summer is basically like free labor and like come help us out and we'll give you access to the weight room and whatnot. So I would do that mostly because I also wanted to attend the other camps they had, and that would be like free. That's how I'd get into the camp without paying for it. So I did that a lot with like being 14, 15, 16 years old with probably like second, third, fourth, fifth graders kind of age. And I really liked just like the helping people out and like teaching stuff. I found that to be like rewarding.
That's not an easy age to make a connection with either. So you probably noticed early on that you had that ability.
Yeah, I wanted to make it fun. Like I just thought about like what experience I would want to have, and I'd want part of that's probably a little bit of like people pleasing. I want the people around me to have a good time, but like that was something that was important to me. Is like it was fun to be hanging out in our group doing whatever the fuck drill we were doing, whether that was trying to dribble with your left hand with a basketball, or you're running routes on air with the young kids, and you're doing the Peyton Manning on SNL, just firing footballs at them, and just oh, they didn't catch it again. Oh, they didn't catch it again. There's plenty of that going on. But I would say like coaching and seeing that like be rewarding wasn't until I was at Bates, and right as I got my level 1 in like 2000 either 9 or 10, I taught a knockoff class called Be Fit at Bates College, and it was for like administrators. There's only like 6 or 8 of them that would do that, but Bates would pay me like this ballin' rate for like the 3 hours a week that I would work there. Yeah.
It only charged you $100,000 to go there, and they gave you $60 an hour.
I think I made $25 an hour, which like compared to the other campus jobs, like sweeping steps for like $2 an hour.
$1 million. It's like
Yeah,
$1
it's
million
basic.
in today's
yeah.
money.
So I would do that, and it was just the same sort of people, and like they were losing like weight, and they were liking it, and they were having a good time, and there was like a get to know them kind of thing. So that would be probably the first time that like I heard from people like the experience that I'd given them was like changing their life for the better. And like when I was getting ready to move on to graduate school, like they all individually wrote me like a really nice letter about how that class like made their life better, and I was like, oh, that's like really cool. And that was kind of the seed that got planted as I left to go to graduate school, and was like, fuck, there's no CrossFit here. Where do I gotta go? So that was kind of like the push over into like, you might be able to do this for like a career kind of thing. Because at this point, I just graduated from a prestigious like liberal arts school with a degree that's basically like, I don't know, petting monkeys or some shit. Like it's fucking useless. It's literally a useless degree. I just spent $200,000 on a fucking, I don't know, a Happy Meal. Like it was dumb. So I was like, what the fuck am I gonna do with this degree? And because I didn't want to go into psychology. Like I just picked the major that aligned best with what I had done up to that point in credits, so I wouldn't have to spend an extra year there. And I knew that with my degree, I also got a minor in Chinese. Like I'm not gonna fucking I'm not gonna move to China. I didn't want to go there because that was an option to me. I was
$200,000 Chinese Happy Meal. Got it.
my Chinese professor, her son was in China, and she's like, you could go work for him in his paint factory and be a translator. And I was like, China.
Big paint sniffer.
Sounds like a cushy
Where do
job.
I sign? Let's go.
I was like, I think I'd rather kill myself.
Sherb's getting addicted to lacquer. He's in the back huffing.
Yeah, every breath he takes is just lead straight to his fucking nuts.
So I ended up having to go to USM for a year to get some prereqs because my Bachelor of Arts didn't translate to a Bachelor of Science to be able to go do a master's program in Masters of Science for exercise physiology. So when I left Bates, went to USM for a year, and then I was like, I got to get out of here. I'm fucking living in my parents' house. I'm 22, 23 years old. This sucks ass. My parents and I don't get along. I don't know what you're talking about, Mom. Like kind of shit.
Shut up.
So I was able to thankfully get into a program down in Pennsylvania, in Bloomsburg of Pennsylvania, of all fucking places. I had no idea even where that was really when I was applying. I just knew it was near Scranton. Ended up going to that program, and as soon as I got there, I'm like, fuck, where's my Whole Foods? Where's the ocean? I'm like near none of the things I'm used to being near to. And there's also no CrossFit gym. So like at this point I had been going to CrossFit 321 in Brunswick, Maine, which meant I, commuted about 40 minutes each way to that gym as I was living at home, 4 or 5 days a week. And when I get down to Pennsylvania, I'm like, fuck, there's no CrossFit gym. So the first time I leave Bloomsburg to go to Lewisburg, which is like a 45-minute drive, I get there, I pull into the parking lot, and they're like, you got to turn around. There's a gas leak nearby, and classes canceled. Go home. So I was like, fuck, I just drove 45 minutes. You kidding me? So drove home, came back the very next day, and I found this little CrossFit gym, which was in the back of the Lewisburg Area Recreational Gymnastics Center. Like they called it LARG, I think. Larg C. I can't remember exactly.
The Larg.
Yeah. So basically giant kids gymnastics gym. In the back corner of the gym was the gymnastics office, and on either side was a little tiny spot for CrossFit. But they were like, these CrossFit classes see 5 people at them. And basically I think the guy that owned the CrossFit or owned the gymnastics area liked CrossFit and was like, I'm going to do this on the side here. So there wasn't really like more than a 5 a.m. class and like a 5 p.m. class. And, I quickly tried to get in there and start working out myself because I wanted to go to a CrossFit gym. I didn't want to go to the rec center at Bloomsburg because it's just like it's a giant field house. It's a traditional weight room with 12,000 treadmills and ellipticals and shit. And then like you go into the weights area of the gym and it's, a few platforms and then everybody doing curls on the squat rack. Just not the vibe that I liked, and, big time bodybuilding community there. Cause like,
How long had you been doing CrossFit when you moved?
we're probably going on 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
This is like 2013. This is like 20. Well, probably like 2 to 3 years. It's like 2012, 2013, that area.
What program you following?
At first, CrossFit. I did CrossFit.com for the first like 3 years. I was the guy that's like hitting refresh at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every night. You have that sweet site that was like yellow and gray, and Greg's posting up poems and fucking.
Fuck yeah.
There's Windows
5K run
Media.
was pizza night.
Fuck yeah. Best day ever is 7x1 shoulder press. You go to the gym for 8 minutes and then you house a pizza because you worked out that day. It was the greatest.
Especially if you go with a bunch of NARPs. You feel so good about yourself.
So great. I used to go with Sam Nappy and embarrass him because he couldn't do anything. So I did CrossFit.com for a while, and then he's definitely listening while he paints. Did CrossFit.com for a while, and then when I moved to Pennsylvania, I was like, I want to be like competitive in this, so I was following the outlaw way. So I was doing barbell gymnastics and fucking 2minutemetcon.com. Not doing any real gymnastics, just barbell gymnastics. Pulling off blocks every single day, and then maxing my clean and jerk and snatch every
with straps off the blocks, pause overhead, triple backflip.
Yeah, you do a max snatch and clean and jerk every Saturday for your time.
It was honestly
doing
a
the program.
GPP program for weightlifters, is what it was.
Yeah,
like you could get a lot stronger on a program like that, right? Because like Louis Simmons had the whole fucking like we need to make sure that they're still pulling and pushing sleds and doing their quote unquote cardio.
I mean, it taught me how to do a
as they would call
240
it.
pound broad jump. You ever do one of those, Hunter? 240 pound broad jump?
No,
Let's
go
fucking-
on.
let's get some
Are you
vests on.
240 pounds or is the barbell 240
the
pounds?
barbells, you go to BC East and you snatch, but when you start, you're on one side of the barn. You go to you catch it on the other
Oh,
side of
yeah,
the barn.
that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
broad
no.
snatch, broad jump.
I said this the other day, Sherb.
I'm a big fan of the skull drag.
The forehead drag.
Yeah.
Sherb moved so poorly back then that it presented itself as I was fitter than him. If anyone on earth can imagine me seeming fitter than Sherb, just think about how he would need to move for that to take place.
We must still have the Vimeo access somewhere, Ted, don't you? Don't you have all those? I'm pretty sure we have a crazy Vimeo library of Misfit Athletics. Like just when we used to post a video to the blog every single day of someone like sending media in.
I know that I have a bunch of your Bloomsburg videos, those fluorescent green walls.
Oh yeah, dude, it was so great. But there's a video of Beast of the East like literally jumping like 2 feet forward, snatching. PR'd my snatch that day, but also jumped a mile forward on it.
What was your 2K row time that day?
I don't know, like
Say
4 minutes, I think. I think I set the world record that day. 7:10. I think it's pretty good for a competitive female now. I was really tough on the rower.
Drew, what was
Super
your
tough.
2K time?
7 or 8.
Honestly, probably 5 seconds faster, 4 or 5 seconds faster than that.
Okay.
Somewhere in that range.
We were hoping for that.
Yeah.
That was great.
Did you have a coach, Sherb? Or were you just there? You were just
No,
throwing
just
down?
there. I mean, I had come home for like a break or whatever, and I knew these guys were gonna go down to do it. And fuck, I think Gabe was my partner that year. I think it was a partner competition, if I remember correctly. Wasn't it? Because
was
weren't you
team.
and Nick Brown? Wasn't that
Yeah, it was
your
me,
team as well?
Nick Brown, Amber, and Tiffany were on a team.
Fuck.
Wow.
I don't remember who was on my team, but I just remember
Blast from
Gabe
the
was on it
past.
too. But
Yep.
yeah, no, I just went down there because the gym that was competitive in the area was CrossFit MF. That was the only gym that seemed to be interested in the sports side of stuff more so than the affiliate side of stuff. And when I started CrossFit, like I enjoyed helping people, but I didn't really give the same shit that I give now when it comes to just like changing lives for the better. I was like, I want to be good at CrossFit, and if I teach people how to do CrossFit, I can be in the gym all day, every day and do more CrossFit. So that's kind of how it started. But yeah, that's how I ended up at that gym in Lewisburg, because I was just so sick of the facility at the college just being like everything I didn't want a gym to be, that I was willing to drive there. And after a little bit of time, they had a couple of kids that were like high school age. They had contacted the owner of the CrossFit gym and was like, hey, can you do personal training with these two boys? And the guy that was running the gym was just like, I can't. I have shit going on. And he's like, I'll see if this guy wants to. And he basically approached me and was like, hey, there are two high school age kids that want to train here. Their parents are going to pay us this amount. We can pay you this amount. Do you want to do it? And I was like, I just want to be involved. And that was really important to me. And no one other coach could do that time slot. So I started training those guys. And I think they were like wrestlers or gymnasts. I honestly do not remember. They were there with me for like 6 to 12 months, somewhere in that range. And then just being there more often, they were like, all right, we want to potentially start a 9 a.m. class. Would you do that? And I was like, yeah, I don't fucking care. I'll be here all day. Because the graduate program at Bloomsburg wasn't difficult relative to Bates. So I was able to get most of my work done and just have a bunch of free time. So that free time was spent over in Lewisburg. So I basically commuted 45 minutes each way, each day, to spend as much time at that gym as I could. And then the only time I was back in Bloomsburg was to take my classes that I had to be in person for. So, each day was spent, at least part of it, at that gym, and then slow that gym grew, and we started having 9 a.m. class, and a 3 o'clock class, and a 5 o'clock class. And then eventually, we moved from that space into another space that was, I don't even know, probably 800-meter run from where the first gym was. And, things changed within the management of the gym. They had a guy they had to, unfortunately get rid of because of personal reasons. And they're like, hey, do you want to run all his classes? And I was like, fuck yeah, I'm in. So I just slowly
you
started
slowly ended up being like the head coach and basically running the gym, correct?
Yeah, I mean, by the by the end, when I was getting ready to come home back to Maine, the gym was basically run by me. I coached, I was the one that scheduled everybody. I was the one that ran the bulk of the classes. I was the one that programmed for the gym. I basically had turned it from like, doing .com with 2 high school kids to becoming the, not owner, but the like manager and decision maker at the gym. They're like, don't burn this place down and otherwise have fun. And that's kind of what I did.
Quick side tangent. When did you start training with Joe?
Joe didn't show up until we had moved into the second location I was just describing. He was a freshman at Bucknell, which was like a stone's throw from the gym. Like, you can see Bucknell's campus from the gym. He came in one day, kid from New Jersey, and he was just like, hey, I've been doing this program for lacrosse and I really, really like it. And the kid was a freak athlete and gravitated towards CrossFit because he was basically very, very good at it very quickly, had great body awareness, who's, someone who got strong super fast because of how well he moved. And, before I knew it, like this kid that I was whooping up on every single day would just trounce me in every single workout. And it was just fun to have someone to work out with because for a lot of those times I was still working up by myself because I worked out when no one else was there. And if people were there, I was training them. So Joe, I think, showed up, I want to say 2012. Like late
Yeah, and to
2012?
give context, he came in 8th at regionals in 2013. So that's switching from like, I don't want to play college lacrosse, let's try CrossFit, to that. And it was always fascinating because he would like sometimes want to train and then in competition just fucking lay waste to everybody.
Yeah, to be fair, I probably wasn't the nicest to him either. Like we had like a sibling rivalry.
That kid was a pain in the ass.
I mean, he was a pain in the ass, but I also like part of what I really liked about CrossFit early on was the competitive side. So like talking shit and like being you fucking pussy, you can only lift that much weight was like a big part of like
well,
what
that's
was
why
fun
I asked,
about it.
right? Like he definitely had something to do with sort of you had the part of what I'm getting at is the duality of we start this episode with you talking about your passion at the gym in Wyndham, but also where you placed in the world in your division. So like you're learning how to coach at this point, you're learning how to run an affiliate, but then also big fish in a small pond, and then somebody else comes in. And I always think stuff like that's important to just, again, continue to level things up.
Yeah, I mean, we're training with Joe leveled, I think, both of us up. There were things that I was a little better than he was at. And like, when it came to like some of the heavy lifting, but like if it was a skilled lift, I was terrible at it relative to him. So like there was a lot of like, what movement is that? And like that joking like atmosphere, like pushing us to both like figure out how to be better CrossFitters. So, and then just learning how to deal with like the personality of like, this kid's going to be really good. And then he shows up at regionals like a year into CrossFit, finishes 8th, and then has a string of years after that where he's just like on the doorstep for back-to-back years after that. Never, unfortunately, punched his ticket, but like was super close to it and was like a fun person to be around and someone who pushed me to be a better like athlete. And then I learned a lot about coaching, like watching him move and like watching how he, became what he was and like trying to figure out ways where I could help him because that was kind of where I got to at some point was like, I'm not going to keep up with this kid. So I'm going to try to give him things that I see could be better. And, we both kind of coached and trained with each other like simultaneously.
Yeah, and he would challenge you as well. That was always interesting, right? So like if you were trying to help him with a particular movement or style of thing, he needed the real background on it. He didn't want, it wasn't like a yes coach kind of a thing. So like working with him and honestly working with you simultaneously, like that causes you, like that forces you to level up on the coaching side. Like you need an answer to this question because in a lot of affiliate settings, it's like, oh, this guy's fit. Like, did you hear this guy can do a fucking muscle up and whatever, snatch 200 pounds? Like, I'll listen to him. And you can, it could be the blind leading the blind, but sometimes there just are those types of athletes that are like, well, that doesn't seem right, or why, or those sorts of things. And I think having people around like that early on in your career forces you to go find the answer versus relying on charisma or public speaking skills.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't consider myself then a great public speaker, but I had a decent amount of charisma, and I had basically a group of individuals who didn't know their ass from their elbow when it came to like CrossFit. So like a lot of times it was like, and I tell us to like to the members now who are like, oh, so-and-so's a new coach and they're not as good as you. And I'm like, I wish you could have seen me coach at CrossFit Lewisburg. I'd have a 5 p.m. class that ended at 6:45 and I'm telling fucking 6 p.m., hey, go warm up and do these 58 things until I'm ready for you. And I'll figure out how to make this class work and, change workouts into partner workouts on the fly or like, figuring things out on the fly and not having the answer to things, but making the answer up and sounding like I knew what the fuck I was talking about. And then if I was challenged again, I'm like, all right, well, when I leave this class, I'm going to make sure that what I said to that person is fucking right, or I'm going to go up to them next class and own up to the fact that I don't know what the fuck I was talking about. And it actually turns out it was this thing instead of that thing. So there was a lot of that in the time at Lewisburg. It was basically like, here's the keys to the Ferrari, don't crash it. And, got some dings on it, but I figured out for the most part, like the kind of coach I wanted to be, the information I needed to know to be a good coach. And then, being able to connect with people and being what I call someone else that you want to be around. I call that like a glue guy, like as a coach. Like you're like, this is gonna sound gross, but sticky. You bring people in, they stick. You know what I mean? They stay at the gym. Yeah, as I told you, it sounds gross.
You are pretty
Start
sticky,
making all
though,
his
bro.
members sticky. Like, come here, yo. I'm gonna make
But
you
like,
sticky.
but make them like stick at the gym. Like you want to be someone they want to be around. They want to come back.
Oh, that's what you meant. I got it.
That's what I meant by
Sure
stick
you
glue
did.
guy. But like you're a person that other people want to be around, and that inspires them to be consistent, because we all know that's what makes the greatest change in people, is getting them to want to come back continuously. So, what I lacked in information about CrossFit, try to make up for it in personality and like how I made the person feel, and then over time that just developed and developed and developed to the point where like I was someone you wanted to be around, but I also knew what the fuck I was talking about.
Were you doing anything to improve like your coaching aside from just kind of just shooting, like firing from the hip and figuring out on the fly?
Oh, I was obsessed with all the things I could find. You read Mark Ripeto's book, you read Cat House Athletics by Greg Everett, you watched every fucking video that CrossFit ever put out. I literally, like I said, after I saw what the workout was and try to figure out what the game plan was for the following day on .com, I would watch every single video. And if there was something, how to teach something, I'm watching that. And I'm watching it over and over again. And then I'm trying to do my best to like take exactly what I like saw in that video, memorize it, and like regurgitate it in front of somebody. And a lot of times like, oh, fuck, I surely butchered that one. That's not exactly what they said in that video. And then figured out like what would be my version of that and then refine that over time. So I just I consumed the content that CrossFit put out like voraciously. And that was really important to me, to be able to like see what was available and then try to figure out how I could teach that to somebody else. And then based on their proficiency afterwards, retool or find something else, because fuck, that drill was stupid. No one figured it out. No one understood what the hell I was talking about. So I think that was a big part of what got me better as a coach, was just being like, try this, that didn't work. Try this, that didn't work. Try this. All right, that one started to work. Change these few bits of phrasing, speak a little clearer, slow down when I'm speaking, and then all of a sudden, like, people are getting it.
Yeah, the other thing too is I feel like at that point the collective started to really like come together. Like we were always sending each other T-Nation articles and shit from Westside Barbell and any of the, CrossFit gymnastics stuff. And that sort of thing changes when there are multiple people that are interested in the same thing, right? Like you don't want to be on an island with that stuff. You want to be like, holy shit, I found this, and there's these sets and reps of this thing, and this community does this, and there's some old guy named Phil Maffetone that wants me to go walk for 9 hours. Like, what is happening here? So I think at that point, a lot of it was like, there was some of that hive mind thing starting to go on before you came back to Maine.
Yeah, I would think like the 2013. I came back like spring of 2013, so like that right after Joe had did that. I think it was 8th place at regionals. Yeah, the winter break before, I had come home and we had started talking more about that. I had came to CrossFit MF and worked out there basically for all of winter break when I was home. And I think that's right around the time where we started talking more about like what training should be. We were passing around the carb backloading book, that type of stuff. Like there was a lot of just like, hey, did you see this? What do you think of that? And,
night sweats.
Hey, fuck yeah. Get that triple classic and that extra large frosty. It's for your health.
It's good, dude.
That's when that stuff started to happen.
Press.
Fuck, I did it. I worked out today. I don't need to do anything else. That really started the, like, have you seen this? We thought about that. And I think that just basically opened up, you know, the worldview of what training could be. Because one of the things CrossFit did early on that I think they should lean into more and more still is finding experts from outside their, purview. Like go to a rowing expert, someone who trains collegiate rowers and be like, all right, teach us how to row. Instead, now they have subject matter experts that are within the bubble of CrossFit. And while that's really good because they figured out how to that domain fits within the big picture of what CrossFit is, there's still something lost when you don't have someone that's in that community come in and tell us something new or something different, or have you thought about this? Which is, you think about like Coach Chris at the Portland gym bringing drills about rowing that, we hadn't seen before, maybe we had seen before, but never utilized, and better understand the application of that. And like, that's a big part of what coaching is being able to take in information and then find a way to communicate it to other people or to understand it better so that you can then communicate to other people. So a big part of that was, what had happened as I was getting ready to move back home from Pennsylvania back to Maine.
How do you become head coach at the artist formerly known as CrossFit MF? Misfit
Question. You should answer that question, not me. I was just some fucking bozo in Pennsylvania that was going to go work at a terrible gym and have a terrible experience. That would have been fucking life changing. I'd be
easy girl.
I'd be at fucking Home Depot right now, slinging
I'll
2x4s.
provide a little bit of color. Sherb was coming home to Maine, wanted to be a CrossFit coach. It was very clear that the performative side of coaching and the ability to like your significant whatever, I don't know if you consider yourself an extrovert, but you're 10 times more the extrovert than I am. You seem to feed off of the energy of class and sort of get excited to coach the next one. And that was something that I noticed in you, and it was like, okay, if I can like help him with some of the like nuts and bolts stuff, I think we have exactly who we want as our first like true hire head coach. Of course, we couldn't pay you any money. Here's $5.
I do remember that.
And you had an offer with a reasonable salary from another gym that was more downtown, more boutique style, more relying on the turf and the competition plates. And our gym probably could have used a vacuum in the corner a little bit more.
Collect dust.
But it had some of that magic, I think, was already there and already brewing. And we were trying to figure some certain things out. And I mean, you can talk about having to make that decision, but obviously you ended up at our gym.
Yeah, I mean, thinking about the conversation that I had with both you guys and then the guy that was over at the other gym, I'll save names, even though it's a different ownership now, is basically they were like, we can pay you, again, this wouldn't be a great salary back then, but like for having just dropped 20K on education, like was a little bit nicer feeling than the offer that you guys could give me just based on what was available in terms of what was available for like, hey, we have this many members and that means this many dollars come in that's outside of our rent. We got to keep the lights on. Here's what we can
We have 19 members and we sell 4 bags of Progenics a month. Whatever we get from that is all yours.
So
the Progenics, not the memberships.
Yeah.
So I was seriously weighing the opportunity to go to the gym that was going to pay me more. But one of the things that really bothered me was like, I don't know anybody at this gym and I want to go to MF to work out with my friends. How do you guys feel about that? Not really understanding back then, like how much working out with your members is about the culture and like being a part of it. And I was just like, I don't want to work out with soccer moms. I want to work out with people who are my age. They're going to be good at CrossFit. So if I can't work out there, I don't want this job. It was that. And the fact that I thought I'd be happier being in that environment that was more like the, college football, like a locker room kind of vibe versus like a CrossFit country club. I mean, I don't really have any other way to describe it on the fact that I just didn't think I was going to fit in as well there as I would MF. So I took the lesser of the money to go to a place that I felt resonated more with how I felt CrossFit should be done at that time, because I really like the thing that drew me in was like the fucking tip of the spear, the Navy SEALs doing it, even though I, obviously I am not one, but the tip of the spear, how you were going to look a certain way, like what fucking Rich Froning looked like in 2013. I'm like, fuck, that's gonna be me. Like that's what I'm gonna look like. I haven't gotten there yet. I'm close. but the idea is like that's
Got a
what
long
resonated
ways
with
to
me.
go on that left pec.
7 or 8 more
Yeah,
decades.
work on them
Fuck, I
stems,
got-
buddy.
I'm gonna do some benching today just because you said that. But yeah, that was important to me. Is like I wanted to be one of those guys. Like I was the guy on CrossFit.com every night looking at the fucking. In addition to the pictures and the videos, there was always a handful of really good CrossFitters that had been following the website and posting on the blog with their time. You know, Austin Malleolo did this DT workout in 3:15. Like fuck, I was 9 minutes. The fuck am I doing? And like slowly but surely catching up to some of those scores. Now I never caught anybody on 5K run day, but as I was getting better at like Diane and Fran and stuff, like you start to get competitive and you see like you can throw your hat in the ring in some of these workouts. And I just felt like that was more who I was as a CrossFit coach. Like I could deliver a good class, but I like the sport side of CrossFit, which is ultimately why I ended up, you know, picking MF for less dollars than the other gym for more dollars.
So this next question goes back to the duality of coach Sherb, athlete Sherb. You qualified for regionals in 2014 and you went on a team in 2016?
Yeah.
When do you think you crossed the threshold of your identity being more than 50% coach and less than 50% athlete? Because I'm trying to think back through that time, and you stayed pretty competitive through like 2018, 2019, and you trained a lot. When do you think that part of your identity like not completely took over? And now, you know, it's probably still 90-10,
Yeah.
80-20.
Yeah. It's mostly coach.
But when do you think that part of your identity took over?
I mean, the writing was on the wall for some of the competitive CrossFit stuff. Like, could be a average team member at, you know, following the 2016 season. Like, I felt like I held my own on that team, but you could definitely see the other two males on the team were better at CrossFit than I were, and I just happened to be like a little bit stronger in some things, so I could like show off snatching whatever 265 in that snatch ladder on the team, whereas one of our teammates couldn't do that. But the overall fitness, like it was clear that like I wasn't the fittest person on the team by any stretch. But I really liked the camaraderie and being around those guys in training. So I would say, you know, thinking through, I think 2018 was probably the last year where I had like a, you know, I was top 300 in the world for the men, somewhere around that mark. I think that's what probably my best was. It was just under top 300. I don't know. I have to go back and
So
look.
you actually, your second best finish or your third best finish ever was 2019. You went from 2018, you were 523, and 2019, you were 318.
Yeah. So I'd say probably around then was right around the time where like the priority shift, like the mental load of training really, really hard and spending that much time doing something and then not exceeding the expectation you have for yourself is just really challenging. And you know, I came to a realization that like if I don't focus on something that's more long term, that you know, this is a fleeting moment in your life. The ability to compete competitively in CrossFit, even though thankfully CrossFit has age divisions all the way up to, you know, 300 years old, is a thing that can't be your full identity. And that was something that I struggled with because the ego was a big part of like why I liked CrossFit. Like I can be fucking good at this. I work really hard. But that can also be a poison. So I found that I started to enjoy other parts outside of like, am I good at these thrusters and pull-ups and toes to bar? Like I found more enjoyment in helping someone else achieve their goals than hitting my own, which was really a first. I don't like have a singular moment where I can be like, that was it.
Yeah.
That was when I felt different. But I would say right after that open you just described, I think it was 2019, where the gears kind of shifted towards like, all right, I'm going to do CrossFit, but I'm going to do like affiliate class. I'm just going to have fun. I'm going to go back to like the roots of like, I'm not going to do .com, but I'm going to do like the one workout a day. Maybe someone ropes me into something secondary, but that's it. And more time was spent like, you know, chopping it up at the whiteboard and helping members achieve their goals more so than myself.
So one of the reasons why I wanted to do this is we get messages from people about wanting to be a remote coach or asking us what courses we've taken. trying to figure out like, how do you end up in the position where you are, either coaching at a very high level at the affiliate or coaching CrossFit Games athletes. And there are obviously a lot of scenarios in between. And part of the answer sounds like the must be nice crowd would watch you coach a class now and be like, oh, I wish I had that personality. And you're saying, yo, this is year 14. Like, I've been doing this for a long time and I got to do a lot of things wrong to figure out what is right. Yeah. And so time's one ingredient, and then the other side is just that interest in all of it that we've talked about. And it bounced back and forth from like, we have to admit, all three of us, that so much of our knowledge came from trying to improve ourselves at first. That young man's game of that. And little did we know in the background, we were processing the absolute best way to coach anybody if we're trying to really dig deep to find those tips and tricks for ourselves. Hunter, I don't know if you have any questions for him on that avenue, but I just think laying it out for people what the reality is of this, because our career path is new and different and weird, and you're not going to Bloomsburg to be a CrossFit Games coach or a CrossFit affiliate coach, right? So like what is it that allows us to be in the position that we're in?
Man, no, I don't have any serious follow-up questions to it. I think you kind of answered a lot of it, Sherb. When did you do your first L1?
I want to say August of 2010. It's either 09 or 2010. I think it was 2010.
So you had your L1 when you kind of got rolling.
Yeah, it was funny because like I had graduation money, right, from college, and I actually called up the owner of CrossFit 321 in Brunswick, and I didn't know anybody. I didn't go to the gym. I did CrossFit on my own at the college rec center at Bates, and I was just like, should I be a level 1 coach? That's what I called and asked, and he was like, I don't fucking know who you are, bud. What the fuck do you want me to say to you? And I was like, I don't know. Like, is it awesome? Like, what is it about? And he's like, yeah, it's great.
Awesome?
Like, I don't even remember there were some stupid questions, but I probably asked him like, is it worth the money? And he'd be like, I don't fucking know. Is it worth the money to you? Like, really dumb questions, but I didn't know any better. But I had just been doing CrossFit on my own for a little bit, and I also asked for a job. He'd never met me before. He didn't say yes to that either. So I went and did the level 1.
Stranger calls, doesn't even say his name. Should I get my L1?
Can I have a job?
Basically.
I just interviewed myself.
So then I, decided to commit some of that graduation money to the level 1. Did it up in Vassalboro, Maine. I was staying at my grandparents' house in Auburn, so I drove from Auburn to Vassalboro 2 days in a row to do these.
Is it at the police academy? Where the fuck in Vassalboro? Yeah. Really?
Yeah, Maine Police Academy.
So many of the L1s across the country were at police academy. I took mine in Golden, Colorado, at the Colorado State police place.
But anyways, once I got that level 1, I just started going over to the gym in Brunswick on their free class on Saturday morning at 10. I would do that every single week. And then they did Fight Gone Bad fundraiser, and I did that there. And then I was like, can I clean the toilets here and have a job, and can I work out here for free? And they're like, yeah, if you help out, you can, kind of the old school CrossFit coach journey where you're basically a unpaid intern that coaches classes to get your gym key, and then over time slowly become part of the squad there. That's kind of how I got started working at a CrossFit gym. That was the first gym I worked at, and I was just, fuck, I'll do anything. Can I have a key so I can do thrusters?
All right, Sherb, what's your prescription? Someone's listening to this. They want to end up being an affiliate owner, a great coach, a community member, whatever it is. What are your words of wisdom after being in this for so long on how they could pursue ending up in a similar place as you?
Yeah, I mean, the first step is just being obsessed with learning as much as you can about CrossFit. You can't be an effective CrossFit instructor if you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And again, I'm not saying you have to have all the answers at first, but you need to be taking in content, whether that's listening to books or watching videos. I mean, I did all of that stuff, reading the level 1 over and over again, finding seminars, or I can't even tell you how many times I went to a weekend thing where it's gymnastics course at this gym, or it's a weightlifting thing at this gym. In Pennsylvania, I went to a bunch of those that were in the local area, weightlifting gyms, gymnastics gym, try to learn as much as I could there. Just taking in that content. And then outside of that, I think it's just being willing to practice. I fought for every opportunity to try to get in front of an audience and do it. And then like so much time was spent like, fuck, that was terrible. What can I do better? And like reevaluating what could be better about what I just delivered and wanting to see what made progress and what didn't make progress. And just getting the reps in. I think the best way to become a great affiliate coach is to coach a bunch and realize that at first they ain't going to be very good classes. You're going to have to learn a lot about what the craft is before you can be good at said craft. But the only way you can get better at it is through repetition. You have to put yourself in front of people. So, if that's something you're really important and it's important to you, you have to go out into the world and be like, hey, I'll coach this class for free. Or in my situation, like I started a B Fit program at Bates, and it was 1 administrator, then it was 2, then it was 4. And at some point we got up to like 10 people. And like literally the way that Greg described professional training, he's like, the way you scale it is you start with friends and family with one other person, and then it's 2 people, and then it's 4 people. And you slowly over time learn how to manage a group, figure out how to approach someone's, physiological and psychological tolerance for exercise, and then just learn a lot from that. I mean, again, I can't stress how many mistakes I made giving someone way too hard of a workout, blasting them with a weight they can't do, fucking just absolutely murdering someone and like being like, fuck, that's not it. That's not what CrossFit is.
Yeah, but you got to write RX next to their name.
But then learning from it. Well, I mean, the first personal training job I ever had, I got fired because I was making soccer moms too sore. I was just like fucking them up out there. Like it's called One-to-One Bodyscapes. It was over in Scarborough.
Ted, you might have to mute that part. That's pretty intense.
Fucking up soccer moms.
Jesus.
But it's hot. But it was getting reps. It was just reps. And then, being willing to find other people that you like look up to in the space and being like, let's bounce off ideas off each other. What do you like about this? What don't you like? And then I would say like watching other people coach is a huge part of that too. You figure out what types of phrases connect with other people, what type of things work well in building like positive association with exercise, like making it fun. I think that's been one of the things that I like hung my cap on early on, was just trying to make my class really fun. And I'll figure out the educational portion as I go. Because if a gym is really effective but boring as fuck and no one's having fun, like it doesn't matter how much you know. It doesn't matter how clean your bathrooms are if people aren't having a good time. So like hanging the hat on like, let's make this a fun environment to be in, and take training seriously but on ourselves is a big part of what I think has made CrossFit, when having it been done around me and my classes, or something someone wants to come back to. I don't know if that was one simple thing you need to do, but that was the thing.
No, I think it just comes back to it's a similar question that we have with conversation that we have with athletes, right? Like an athlete wants to be X, Y, or Z, and then Hunter says, stare in the mirror, do a 360, and then it's you back in the mirror again. And do I actually want to do numbers 1 through 1 million on this sheet to get to that point? So a lot of people listening, or a lot of people that reach out to us that in a particular moment want to be a competitive CrossFit coach or a really good affiliate coach or whatever it is. Do you want to do the 360 and stare yourself in the face and say 14 years and you have to be obsessed with the same thing the entire time? I think those are really important questions to ask. And I just think it's cool that it's a kind of a winding road. I think that's part of what keeps this interesting for all of us, is that we've been through a lot of different shit and put on a lot of different hats. And it's not the easiest thing to tell the story. It doesn't feel linear. It doesn't feel like it all goes together. Are you an athlete? Are you a coach? Like that sort of thing. But I think that's something that would draw someone to this sport specifically, because there's so many different facets to it that you could improve on as a coach, as an athlete.
Yeah, I think that like many facets and like so many things to work on is one of the things that really grabbed me with CrossFit early on. I was like, oh, I can do, this deadlift at 275, but fuck, my 400s take 3 minutes. Like that sucks. That's not what I'm looking for. And like learning a lot about like CrossFit has taught me there's like no end state. It's always the journey thing, the cliche of like you're always on the journey, there's no destination to your fitness is really true. And CrossFit kind of teaches you that, because as things get paid attention to, other things backslide, and it's always a come back and figure out and retool. And that that constant challenge is what really like hooked me into CrossFit, because I found that I really enjoyed having a challenge in front of me and then seeing where I was, and then like, all right, what's the next step in this? Like, you know, you're doing the workout pennies years ago. It's like, oh, it's sick. First time I did it was 19 minutes, and then it was 18 minutes, then it was 17 minutes, then it was 16 minutes. And then, you know, you get down towards the end, you're like, oh, great. I just did it in 14. And oh, I look over there, someone did it in 12. Fuck, well, 12 is the new number to get. And I think that's a cool part of like what CrossFit is. There's always a new challenge presented in front of you.
Truth. All right. This is for the listeners specifically. I mean, I don't know what the fuck I would say that wouldn't be for the listeners on a podcast. I will be bumblefucking my way through Colorado next week. I'm leaving you alone with these gentlemen here. But when I return, I want to know if you guys want us to keep going. So, you know, we got into a decent amount of Sherb's backstory. Do we want to get into Hunter's and mine? Let us know in Discord what you thought about this episode. A little bit different than how we would normally do kind of an interview style thing. We're interviewing ourselves basically. So let us know what you thought of the episode. If you guys have any specific questions that you'd like to have sort of inserted into this, and good luck with the chuckles next week. Did we do it?
Did it.
Cheer.
Yup.
Yay. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Misfit Podcast. And thank you to our show sponsors, sharpentheaxeco.com. Use your favorite athlete code. You save 10%. They get 10%. Properfuel.co. Use the code word Misfit. Misfitathletics.com for your individual programming needs. TeamMisfit.com for your affiliate programming needs. And someone will see you next week.
Fuck.